Just leave it, man. Yeah, let's leave it. Yeah, we can. That's the beautiful thing about what we do, right? This is the thing that you're gonna learn too as this process goes. Sometimes the best way or the best thing you can do is impromptu things because it allows you to put all of the skills that you collected over the years into practice. And notes are good, like taking notes is good and having topics to talk about is great, right? Because that just speaks to our level of intention. But I think it speaks to a different level of understanding when we're actually able to just get into the moment of things and just step into it and be able to deliver value at such a high level, even without anything necessarily to talk about, so to speak, or a topic. Because I feel like we embody this space so much that it's not really about a topic, but it's about who we are. And a lot of people want to know who we are. It's like, what's that old saying? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So we can deliver all of this value and all of these great things, but at the end of the day, people want to know, who are you? Because that's the hardest question for people to ask themselves because they don't know themselves. But when they see someone like us being who we are naturally, it kind of highlights certain aspects of themselves to say, like, I can see myself in you. So we're setting that example right here, right now in the moment. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, by the way, welcome back to another episode of Beyond Usual.
Is another conversation.
Yeah, yeah. How you feeling today? I know I asked you already, but I want to ask you again. How you feeling today since we are here now?
I'm feeling very, I'm feeling very content and optimistic, honestly, and just grateful. Like I feel like this space that I've been in, and I just feel like things have been just aligning. I've been getting clarity and validation of, the steps that I've been making. And, I will say, like, no matter how far you get on this journey, because I felt like years ago, like before I got intentional, I used to just be so, I really needed validation from other people, right? Like I was asking other people what their opinions were to help me decide my next move and things like that. Like I didn't really trust what I wanted. I didn't trust my intuition. Hell, I didn't even think I had it.
Mhm.
And I felt like I just was always like searching for answers through other people. And now obviously that's not the case. I don't necessarily feel like I need that. However, I'm in this space where, when you're making transitions, I think sometimes we look for signs. We look for like, okay, is this the right move? Because sometimes, doubt does creep in. I don't care what level of the journey you're on. Like sometimes we just have moments of like, is this, like, and I feel like I've been getting that. I've been getting validation and clarity um, just by paying attention and listening. And I feel like it's been beautiful. Like it's not something that I intentionally like seek out to make a decision, but I'm starting to notice that I'm still getting it when I make the decision, which helps me to feel even more confident, you know?
Mm. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. It's like I think everybody feels that too. Like I think everybody has a level of uncertainty about their lives and the things that they're doing in their lives, but you still have the option to choose to do something about it or to just sit in it, just sit in the uncertainty. Because I've been a victim, not a victim, but I've been guilty of that, right? Of just being uncertain and then sitting in that uncertainty because it's like, dang, I don't know what move to make. And maybe that's part of me being a Libra and my indecisiveness. But it's like you feel it and it's just like, dang, what move should I make next? And so for me, what I've learned and what I've practiced throughout my years is just the art of radical stepping into radical action. It's like I don't give myself too much time to think too much about the next move. I make a decision and then I act upon it because my thesis is you can't get inspired to do something until you just taken the step to do something. It's like you don't know what to do, but it's like, okay, if you just start moving, you're gonna know like instinctually what to do next. Because it happens to me all the time. Like if I'm sitting around and I'm thinking of what my next move should be, and this is a skill that I actually learned from one of my mentors, Abraham Hicks. And it's like you sit down and you're looking for that inspired action to take. And sometimes it doesn't show up in the way you think. It's like, hey, what should I do next? And it's like, well, go fold your clothes, or go clean up the kitchen, or go vacuum the carpet. It's like, what is that going to do? You're thinking it to yourself, but it's like, well, let me just do it, right? And then you go ahead with that inspired action. And then you get hit with an inspiration of like, ooh, you know what? Maybe I should make a video about this thought I just had, because for me, my thoughts just start running as soon as I start doing stuff. And then it's like I get inspired ideas, and then I'll take action. I'll either take notes on what I just thought about, and then I'll expand on it. And then I'll make a video around it. And then it becomes a topic. And then it's just something that I'm talking about for that week. Right. And I think that that's like the superpower that we possess. It's a superpower even if you don't see it that way, but it's something that is truly powerful. It's the power of thinking deeply, and the power of just knowing, even if you don't know, you know?
No, I definitely feel that. And I mean, as you were talking, like that just made me realize too, like, a lot of what I work with my clients, it's about embodiment work, like embodying this version of yourself, these habits that we adopt, this mindset that we adopt, tools and systems. Like it's really truly incorporating it. And that's something that, I guess I didn't really actually think about as far as like even, just myself. It's like you said, sometimes we'll learn something or we'll be inspired, intuition, whatever you call it. Maybe we listen to a podcast and it just had us think about it. And we're like, oh, there's this different perspective that, I just thought of or heard or whatever the case may be. And that's one thing I realized, like, that has helped me to get to the level that I'm at now, is that I incorporate it. Like you said, you start having conversations about it. You talk to, like we'll have conversations about things we've learned or things that shifted our own perspective. And then we find ways to incorporate it into our life. Like then we start talking about it in general, or we'll make posts about it. And it just becomes like a part of us. It's like a new belief that we adopt. It's not just something that I feel like that's, kind of the difference with other people. Sometimes they listen to the audiobooks or listen to the podcasts or see the spiritual quotes or, whatever, right? And they just it's like, "Oh, that's a nice thought." And they just kind of bypass it. They don't actually let it land and let
Right.
it like see like how can this change my life? How can this help me to be better? How can this be incorporated into my world? And I think that's truly the difference. It's just the act of embodying it. We don't just like learn to learn. Like this is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. It's who you are. It's all about, I always say it's all about becoming. Like, that's just really been my whole thing these past few years, is just who are you becoming throughout the process. It's not so much about what you're learning, although you should be learning something, but it's about who you're becoming as a result of what you're doing or what you're, getting into, and being observant, being present in everything that you're doing. And that's really what we do. Like, honestly, we just keep bringing the person that we're becoming into the present. That's essentially what it is. Like, everything that you're learning, I feel like it's already within you, but it's in a different language for you to interpret it, for others to understand, and for your own understanding as well. And so that's essentially what we're doing here. Like, we come on here, these podcasts, and I'll be honest, we're here to help others, but we're also here to help ourselves too, because we can't help anybody if we don't help ourselves first. And the way that we help ourselves is by having these dialogues and these conversations, and then allowing other people to come in on the conversation so that way they can kind of get a better understanding of their own perspective. Because for me, these conversations weren't had on a regular basis. And if you're somebody who is trying to grow and trying to evolve and, trying to figure yourself out, you may be feeling like stuck or lost, or, you may be wondering, like, what's my purpose in life? These conversations help you to unlock those aspects of yourself so you can tap into that real true potential that you possess. Because if it wasn't in you, you wouldn't be interested in these kind of dialogues. So there's something in you that is trying to come out, but you need something to keep you off of the things that aren't serving you, so that way you can see the things that are and can serve you in the long run.
Yeah. And I don't like, not to, not to have this conversation go to a completely different level, but
Oh yeah.
something I realized recently is, just with the thought of, like you said, becoming. My dad sent me, because he's a Jehovah's Witness,
Mm-hmm.
and he sent me like an article. He'll send me stuff, and I ain't gonna lie, like, I appreciate, I had told him before, like, because he used to send me stuff like all the time, and it was just a little overwhelming. So he doesn't send them as much to me, but he sends it. And I ain't gonna lie, I don't read everything. I don't, like, I don't always feel inspired to, I'll heart it or something like that, and just express gratitude. um but he had sent me something, and it was like, I'm trying to remember what the specific topic was, but I think it was about like a husband, like how a husband treats his wife, or like something like that. Maybe like couples, something. And so I opened this article, and I was reading, and it was talking about like just the wording of it. It just reminded me how I felt like in religion, it kind of makes you, and this is, this might be like, I think, like, kind of, some people may not agree with me, and that's fine. But I feel like religion, at least for me, I just felt like it was more victimizing. It was more like, oh, you got to repent, you got to like do these things and like pray and ask for forgiveness from God, and da 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 da. It just kind of felt like, almost like in that spirit of like, I'm constantly doing wrong. I'm constantly just not like good. And so that's kind of what I mean with victim mindset. And I just realized, I was like, and see, that's the difference between, I think, where I'm at, and like, of course, just being more spiritual. I don't subscribe to any religion or like any particular like school of thought, like as far as beliefs go in that manner. But I just realized, like, that to me is very disempowering. It's very like, woe is me. I need this like complete outside source to make me feel like I'm doing something with my life, to feel good about myself. And I don't agree with that. And so I just realized, like, now in this space, I feel like, of course, it's beyond knowledge. It's beyond just learning things. It is about embodying and just being a good person in general. But I feel like now I am more into this idea of like being an empowered version of myself. Like, we are in this process of becoming, as you talked about, but it's also like, even though I'm trying to become the best version of me, in this moment, I am the best version of me. Like, and I can say that and feel it to my core, where I know that I try to be a good person. I try to help those that, I can. I, care for my neighbor. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like it's a difference in dynamics, as far as like with religion. I just feel like in some, and I'm not going to say like all religions or anything like that, but just in
Mm-hmm.
general, I just feel like it's very, like I said, just disempowering, versus feeling like, hey, I'm becoming the best version of me. Like, of course, like we have belief systems and things like that. I believe in God. I believe, like, but it's just, I do believe that I have power.
Mm,
I do believe that I am like hell.
mm.
You know?
Yeah, you are. You are that you are. That's for sure. It it makes me think about this podcast I was listening to a few days ago. And these guys, EYL, it's EYL, it's Blackout with Ian and Rashad. And they was talking to this pastor. I forget where he's from, but his name is, and I had to look it up. His name is Philip Anthony Michael. And they was just talking to him because, they just wanted to get an understanding of him and how he got started. And he was saying to him, he was telling him about like his journey to becoming a pastor. And he said he didn't even set out to be a pastor. He didn't want to be a pastor, but it's like his life and the things that happened in his life just kind of led him in that direction. And so, it was like his calling, but he kept running from it, but it was still his calling. And that made me think like, when it comes to like religion and spirituality, I feel like, and I've always said this before, religion is a great foundation, but it's not the end all be all. It's a great way to start in your spiritual journey. And I'll be honest, in these age, some people need religion. Like some people need some sort of spiritual foundation, because there's a lot of wickedness going on in the world. And you can easily get caught up if you don't know what you know, if you don't know like what to look out for. And for me, I mean, I'm not like a religious person, but I do live on biblical principles and universal law too. And that's just based on my background, where I came from. Because, like you, my family, they were Jehovah's Witness, but they got excommunicated, I guess you want to say. And they had a whole falling out. And I was young during that time. So it didn't really leave me with no um, foundation, so to speak, not much. And so it kind of led me to go on my own journey of finding God, which led me to finding the God within me, and just led to a deeper understanding of how the world operates and how other people operate in their own like belief systems and things of that nature. So whatever works for others, I feel like if it works for you, if it works for you. So yeah, if it works for you, it works for you. Like everybody has these different ideas and beliefs, but I'm always a believer in everything is just a half truth. So everybody just carries a piece of the whole, and we can all bring our pieces together and we can create this puzzle, we can create this vision for others and maybe help them along their route as well. So that's really what this is all about. It's just sharing your experience, because I feel like, and some people are different. I feel like God is just experiencing itself through us. Like whenever we encounter each other, it's like I see the divine in you. That's namaste, right? The divine in me honors the divine in you. And everywhere I go, I look for the divinity in others. It's like it's not like I try to. It's just what I see first, and then all of the other shit that you got going on in your life is like, okay, it kind of it's shown to me. But before all of that, I see the divine in you. And I think it's important to see the divine within ourselves so that way we can have a better understanding of how to operate in the world, because a lot of us are lost. And that lostness comes from a lack of foundation or a lack of understanding. And you're looking around and the world is throwing things at you, but just like, what do I do with this? I got all this information. I got this person telling me what to do. I got this person and I'm listening to them. And it's like, okay, I hear them and it sounds good, but what do I do with that? So it it all stems from having discernment. And I think that everything that you're going through is helping you to build a level of discernment. So that way you can decide for yourself what's right and what's not. Are you gonna make mistakes? Yeah, for sure. We all gonna make mistakes continuously. But it's how you learn from those mistakes and how you grow and how you evolve from those mistakes, which is what makes you the greatest version of yourself.
Yeah. And I love that you said too, like about it being the foundation, because yeah, like for a time I needed religion, like that
Mhm.
was my compass. And, it helped guide me when I felt lost. Like, cause yeah, most of my up until my like mid-20s, I felt lost. And
Mhm.
it was like now I still operate, like I still have a lot of the like basic principles that I hold dear to my heart that I live by, that came from religion. However, I do think, like one thing you mentioned was like discernment. And I feel like that was one thing that was, at least in, the religion that I grew up in, it was a lot of like, we don't operate on our own discernment. Like, oh, go to the word, go to, pray to God or go to these elders because they know better than you. There was no pointing you inward towards, the God within. And I think it just got to a point on my journey, and it's not to say it's wrong, right, or anything like that. It just was
Mhm.
that it got to a point where I just felt like religion wasn't enough. I was like, there's got to be something because I grew up where, we were in Kingdom Hall, like, a few times a week. I'm talking about family Bible studies, but I still felt a level of emptiness. I still felt a level of unfulfillment. I still felt lost. I still felt like just not happy. And I was like, this can't be it. How is it that somebody can like try to be a good person and do all the things that they say? And why am I still feeling like this? So it just got to a point where it was just like, no, there's got to be more. Even when I was very, operating in that, and I still it led to dark times in my life where I, contemplated, like ending my life. And not because I wanted to end my life, but just because it was just like, I just want this pain to stop. I just want, like what I'm going through, like this isn't it. And
Mhm.
so that led me on my journey to start exploring things that had previously I had been told were like taboo or the devil or, whatever. Like, your girls started getting readings and getting into plant medicine and stuff. Like, my parents would, like, it's
Mhm.
definitely, it went outside of the box for me. But that was the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I've never been more at peace, more in love with myself, more empowered than like this is it. Like this is beautiful. And the fact that I'm still growing, I'm still learning, I'm still experiencing. And like you said, just living in a life where you can see, I think when you get to that point of where you can see the God within you, the goddess within you, you also, like you said, you see it within other people. And it
Mhm.
just shifts your way of looking at the world. Like I used to look and just see, of course, sad things happen. Of course, bad things happen, and people are going through like major losses. But I think now I just have this lens where I just see so much beauty around me. Like I don't wake up just like, oh, life. Like I'm actually like
Mhm.
life. Like what's gonna happen today? Like what can we be curious about? What can we, who can we meet? Who's gonna shift our perspective? Like what can I teach? Like that is the energy that I bring. And I didn't have that when I just was operating in religion.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. That's true. True. And thanks for sharing that story too, because I think that really resonates with a lot of people to hear your perspective. And just a side note, we're not bashing anything though, just so nobody gets the wrong connotation. Like we're not bashing, we're just sharing in our own individual experiences. And if this resonates with you, leave a like, leave a comment, and share. And let us know like what are some things that you're doing right now to step into that great version of yourself, or you know what do you feel like you need to do? And we can help you get some clarity on that too, because that's what these conversations is all about. You need to be having conversations with people who think differently to challenge your thought process so that way you can grow and evolve. Because it happened for me, like with coaching and mentorship. Like as I was evolving, as I was going through my phases in life, I would get coaches and I would get mentors, and they would challenge my thought process because the way I was thinking, it got me to a certain point, but it wasn't going to help me to get to that next level. And so wherever you are, tune into these kind of conversations and be willing to ask questions so that way you can get clarity for your own life. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help you to understand and come to a better understanding for yourself, because that's what we did. And we now have a great understanding about ourselves and our lives, and we're thriving in an amazing way. And I kind of wanted to do this real quick. I wanted to ask a few questions because initially we did have a topic. We did have a topic to talk about, right? But the conversation was flowing, so we were just like, let's just see where it goes. But I do want to give people like some things that they can utilize by asking some questions, and then maybe you can chime in and just give your insight on how people can utilize you know these things or what tools they may need. So
You know I will.
always. Um. All right. So I'm gonna ask it to you like this: if I was to ask you, who do you want to be in this moment? How would you go about answering that question for yourself? Like you're sitting there, you're looking in the mirror, and you're asking yourself, like, who do I want to be in this moment? How do you decipher that? Like, what's your first steps?
If I think of somebody asking themselves, who do they want to be? I think, honestly, I feel like that's a good question to ask. However, I would tell someone to break it down because sometimes, like, it's like I want to be, you know, the person that's, working out and going to the gym 5 times a week. That's if you're thinking like that, most likely you're probably in the space where you're not active at all, or maybe it's a here and there, or a sometime kind of thing. So that's a great goal to have, but is it realistic for where we are now?
Mm,
So what I would say is like it's great to have this idea of who you want to be. You think about the characteristics that they have and what their life is like, what their everyday is like. But I would say break it down. Don't focus on who you want to be. What is who you want to be? What are they doing? So
mm,
what's like a step that I can take? What is just a small movement that I can make and shift in my everyday life to show up and get me closer to that version of me that I want to be?
mm,
So, like for me, um, I had a lot of religious trauma and with the sexual trauma and things like that and how that impacted like my family dynamics and everything. It got real complicated. Like my mother being married to the person that, violated me, and so the version of me that I saw was this person that had a healthy family life and all of these things, but that just seemed like a theory. It seemed like a concept that was just kind of far away. So, in order to break that down, I had to realize like the version of me today needs to be have boundaries.
mm,
So that was a small thing. And of course, boundaries is a whole big thing, right? Because boundaries, you can have boundaries for every area of your life.
mm,
However, just realizing that I can incorporate boundaries. I realized that every time, I would go to visit because I still wanted to see my family, but it made it real awkward, obviously, having this person still around and be, in the family type of thing. So I realized I needed boundaries to protect my own peace. And so just breaking it down and realizing, okay, when I'm around these people, what is a boundary that I can do so that I don't feel like I'm the victim in this situation, where I don't feel like I'm just letting life happen to me, that I can take control. So, and I know, obviously like not everybody's going to have that same type of scenario. However, I would just say, what is an action that you can take to become the version that you're looking to become? And just focus on that. Just shift the one thing. So if you want to be that healthier version, okay, maybe I can add 1 or 2 days a week going to the gym. Or maybe I can start because maybe I've heard so many times, right? It's not just the working out, it's the how you eat and your diet is more important than everything else. So maybe I stop eating pork. Maybe I drink more water and really just truly like embody that thing, right? Like actually incorporate it, have conversations about it, find accountability partners, find whether it's an app that'll help you track something or that'll send you reminders, put it in your calendar, like whatever you need to do to fully embody that. Because I think sometimes we become like we want to see who, like, this version of us, right, that just feels far off, and it's like, oh, this person would be doing this and this and this, and it becomes overwhelming, and we get stagnant, and we don't take action. So I think just breaking it down to find what's a behavior or a characteristic that I can truly, like, learn to embody and become closer to that version. And then we can work on the next thing
Hmm.
and the next thing.
Okay. Okay. I like that. I like that. That's really good sound advice.
What would you say?
I would say the first thing you should do is get a notebook. And in that notebook, like at the top of the header, write down who do I want to become? And then just list 100 things that you want to become. Like, I want to become smarter. I want to become stronger. I want to become healthier. I want to read more. I want to learn about this and do 100. And I mean 100 things because I guarantee you, because I did this exercise with one of my previous coaches. She was like, just write down a list of 100 people. So it was a little different. And it's like, dang, I don't even know 100 people. And I had to write down that list. But I took that same approach in writing down who I wanted to become. And honestly, I couldn't even list down at the time, I couldn't even list down like 10 things that I wanted to be. Cause my mind just wasn't expanded to the capacity in which it's at now. And the reason I say 100 is because by I say by 25, you're gonna run out of things that you want to become because it's like, dang, what else can I be? But the purpose of the exercise is to expand your thinking because a lot of us operate on like a limited mindset. Like we don't even use, I think we only use like maybe 30% of our brain, really. And part that we use in our brain, I don't know the science behind it, but the part that we use is mostly used for survival and like basic everyday operations and motor skills, right? But the part that is used for like critical thinking, that's the part of our brain that we don't use enough. And so I would say start exercising your mind. Like that's one exercise that you can use to exercise and expand your thinking to see what can I become? Like, dang, this is ridiculous. And the thing that you think is ridiculous is probably something that is attainable, but you just never seen it before in anybody else, or you've never seen it in yourself. So I would start there. Like, take
Mhm.
notes, write down, like, really start getting into your journal and start writing out your life and how you want it to be. That's the second one. What's it called? I forgot what it's called, but it's like you're journaling out your life. Like, for example, I did this last year and I was like basically talking about the year to come. And I was like, it's 2025. No, I did that for 2024. So I did that in 2023. So in 2023, I was writing down my life and how I wanted it to look in 24. So I was like, it's 2024. I've achieved this. I've done this. I've gone here. I've met this person. I've invested in this. Like I really just mapped my whole life out. And I would read that like every week. Like I would read it when I wake up and I would read it before I go to bed because my mind is being conditioned to see evidence of that showing up in my reality. Even if it only shows up a little bit, it's still evidence that, oh, I'm shifting, I'm changing. And so I would say that's the most important thing is to create the evidence for yourself and look for it intentionally. It's like, what's that thing called? The red card theory? You know, it's like if you went throughout your day and somebody just said, hey, show me a red card. You was like, I never seen a red card. Like I didn't see one all day. But the next day you're gonna be intentional about seeing a red card. Like, look, I just seen one just now. So it's just crazy how it works. It works instantly. So I would say, yeah, use those two tactics right there, those two tools, and just watch how things show up in your life.
Yeah, that's good. And that made me think because I had previously made a post on this like some months ago, for the people. Because if you were kind of like me, how I was some years ago, I wasn't so grateful for life. Like I wasn't so seeing all the positivity and all of that. Um, I was very much, I tried. Like I would be outwardly positive, in the world, and I was that friend that would be motivational and all that stuff, but my inner thoughts and belief systems were very negative. So I would say if those, approaches don't feel like they're tangible to you, or maybe even seem a little hard, maybe one thing you could try is look at, because for me, like I always could tell thing I could definitely tell you what triggered me. I could tell you what things like annoyed the hell out of me, So maybe write down three things that, either characteristics or things that just bother you, that drive you up a wall. It could be something you see in other people, something you see on social media. Like for me, for a long time, I used to get in my feelings when I would see like couples, engagement posts and things like that, because it had me in my feelings. Because I'm like, where's mine at? Like, this isn't real. This is, um, I would get triggered by, I'm trying to think. A funny thing is people being negative, even though I realized, like, in hindsight, that I was very negative, right? So just
Mhm.
thinking about like things that trigger you, that just really drive you up a wall, write those three things down and then journal about it. Like, think about it, like, why, like, dig into why it bothers you. Because the thing is, everything outside of us is a projection of us. So, like, for me, I was placing a lot of my happiness on having a partner, and the fact that I didn't have one made me feel less than. It made me feel like, my life wasn't good enough. It made me feel very, you know, inferior. And I didn't see a lot of my value as a person, as a woman, as a being, as a spirit. So doing some of that like reflection work can help you kind of see areas that you can grow in, and where you can focus like your energy and time and attention to healing. And I promise you, if you do that and you just focus on the one thing at a time, those, you'll have three things. But if you focus on that for a few months at a time, a few weeks at a time, I promise you, your life is going to be better, because you're going to start to notice things. If you dig a little deeper into like, why does this bother me? Okay, I don't like other people being negative, but then I realize I'm a little negative. So then maybe you'll start to notice when you make comments that are negative, or when you have thoughts that are negative, and you just having that awareness, you'll eventually start to be like, dang, okay, like maybe I should, right? Like maybe I should like shift that a little bit. I didn't realize how negative that sounded. And that's something I say pretty frequently, right? So then maybe that awareness will lead to the behavior change, which will lead to the lifestyle change. And it will lead to you just becoming another version of yourself. So that's something that I recommend if you're just in that space where you just feel like, you tend to see more negative in the world, and that's okay. We're not gonna get down on ourselves about it, but it's something that we can fix. It's something that we can shift.
I like it. Like it. Really good stuff. I think that's enough. I think that's a plenty enough for people to chew on and digest and ponder upon. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna close it out like this. Growth doesn't happen in the usual places, and neither do we. Thank you. I'm gonna read it out because I don't remember it. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Beyond the Usual, where we don't just talk about it, we go beyond it. Thank y'all and have a blessed rest of your day. Peace and progress.
Peace, y'all.